can do anything that we wanna do. Long as you got me, and I know I got you. We a team. No in between.
So welcome, and thank you so much for being here and willing to sit down. I have so many questions. Tell me what led you to join the ashram.
I feel like I've always been spiritual since I was a child. I have memories of meditating in a closet when I was 6 years old.
But no one in your family was meditating. This wasn't something you were seeing.
No, I mean, we went to church. We were a religious family. But at 6 years old, I'm closing my eyes and going deep within myself. It's like, what is this dark? What is this abyss? And I knew like God existed, but it was like I didn't know what that meant or what that would feel like. Time went on and it started fading away. So I went to Catholic school, elementary and high school. I went on my very first retreat, 12, 13 years old. First question was, close your eyes, pray to God, ask God what your vocation might be. And I'm like, okay, well, what's a vocation? So but they explain it as like, what's your calling?
Okay.
And it was interesting because I remember closing my eyes, going deep, and this tiny voice said, like a nun. I was like, what?
Not a usual thing for a 12-year-old.
My usual thing was like helicopters, like graffiti. Like I wasn't brought up in like a very, you could say, safe and like that kind of a neighborhood. And my mom passed away when I was 13, so that was the real big kicker in my life. Full pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of grief.
What did she die of?
She died of cancer. We don't know what kind of cancer, but it was some kind of cancer, and especially those days when you hear of cancer, it's the death sentence.
Right.
And that exposed me to, of course, like caretaking. I only had 6 months with her. That's where I really got this calling, like I really like helping people in a medical kind of way. After she passed, I was with my dad, who was military man, and he wasn't so engaged in my life. He married very quickly, so just a lot of darkness, a lot of pain. In terms of like this journey and being spiritual and what brought me to live at the ashram, I think it was a combination of I've always been spiritual, but also pain.
Right.
And then through that, service and always wanting to help people, because I don't like when people are suffering or go through that pain. And if I could be a part of someone's journey to help reduce that, then that makes me feel alive and good, and I'm doing something with my life.
And is that how you got led to the military?
I was in the Air Force JROTC in high school, loved it. I was patriotic, I love structure. 9/11 just happened, so it was just like this feeling, that's community service.
Because you don't have your mom, your dad you're not getting along with. It's a way to belong.
Right, but at the same time, during my senior year, that's when I started to find myself. So I was going through a lot of pain, suppressed emotions, hardly expressed myself. I was the type I could smile, but I was suffering inside until something changed. And it was like, I want to learn how to love myself, how to trust myself, how to believe in myself, that if love can and I can't seem to get it from the outside, how can I get that from within?
That's pretty awesome at 18 or so.
Yeah, but I had this huge awakening, this huge moment that, wow, I love myself, and I felt it. I just felt so alive. It was just this switch, and I was getting into self-help books.
But then you went into the military?
I already signed up.
Oh my God.
What they promised was I was gonna become a nurse, and I was like, because I wanted to be in the medical field.
Of course.
So, like my mom's story.
And then what happened?
And then I came out as an ambulance driver. In the military, it's like paramedic level.
Yep.
So I come back home, I'm in LA, and I meet my teacher, and I'm like, thank goodness, like a godsend, right? Just someone to guide me on the spiritual path.
Your teacher that ultimately brings you to the ashram?
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
gotcha.
So he has an ashram in California.
Gotcha.
I meet him there. And I'm just inspired. I start to learn about nonviolence and what does that really mean. And 4 months after meeting my teacher, I get this call from my sergeant, and he's like, hey, are you sitting down? I was like, no, I'm heading to the hospital. He's like, can you pull over for a second? I was like, sure. He's like, I gotta tell you, you're getting deployed. I just sank.
Deployed to?
Iraq. Active Iraq. I would be part of the third wave, and I was 20 years old at the time.
Oh,
and it was just like, and I was like, I'm not gonna lose myself out there. I'm there to help people, whether it's American or Iraqi. I'm a medical person, and
you're going to be your medical, again, ambulance or just
Zealand. So I would be part of the convoys. So that's where, you know, that's your front lines and, you know, you get attacked and all of that. So, and I had my experiences with that. I mean, that's traumatizing, but I would always try to find the silver lining, right? So I got to be part of civil affairs missions. So we would get to meet the Iraqi people and help them medically. Or I remember there was this one time where there was a woman and she had just had a C-section and there was no care for her and it was getting infected, and they said, can you come in? And this group of women, 12 of them, are just around me and I'm cleaning her wound and putting medicine, and she gave me like this huge hug, and all of the women are, you know, like giving me a kiss and just thanking me, and I'm like, how is it I'm at war but I'm also being of service and feeling so connected?
There's that strength in women. And you think about in war, women giving birth, taking care of their children, feeding them. It's another layer of horror, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But also, what a beautiful moment. That stays with you, right?
It stays with me. And even on my first civil affairs mission, you know, we go to a home and the lady, maybe she's like 50s, 60s. She's like the matriarch, you could say, of the family. And she just grabs my hand and I'm like so confused because I was trained to not hate, but I need to protect myself. And this could be a potential enemy.
They could be wearing a bomb vest.
They could be. And she's holding my hand and she's talking in, you know, Arabic. Inside of me, it was like there was this language of connection, of humanity. And I was like, that was what I had to hang on to. And really, she was guiding me to her daughter who had some knee pain, and then I, you know, tried to help her that way. But to be in that kind of state where one moment you're looking out the window of your Humvee, aiming your weapon just in case something's about to happen, and then you're holding hands with the lady. Like, where's the humanity in war? And so these things were like really clicking for me, and it was just like, when I come out of this, I really want to fully dedicate my life to leading a spiritual life. War, ego, corruption, like I just started getting really allergic to what the world is and what it's become, and it's like, there's no peace in this. How do we get to the root of all things? And I think that's where I really started to understand what my teacher was teaching me about nonviolence, because it's like, okay, nonviolence, peaceful, what does that mean? To be nonviolent in your thoughts, actions, speech, right? And your intention towards others and yourself. Because we're always thinking, how do we change the world? How do we help other people? Because that's our nature, right? Annie, you're a helpful person. You're always thinking like, how do we do good? How do we help? But we have to start with ourselves first. And that is like the hardest journey, because no one really wants to face their fears. No one really wants to face their anger. No one really wants to face their trauma again. But I think like the brave people, the spiritual people really look at themselves, and then from that place, then you help people. Why? Because you're always full. You have more light because the world is so dark. And if you start to help the dark and you're not full of light, your light will be dimmed.
Now we're going to fast forward. You become a monk. So you've been a monk for 18 years and you're in Texas. Tell me where you are.
Yes, so we're outside of Dallas. So we live on a retreat. It's called Siddhayatan, which means place of liberated souls. And so it's 250 acres. We've worked hard to build it up and change it and develop it. And people come from all over, mainly to take workshops for meditation, yoga, addiction healing, stress relief, as groups, as individuals, because people are looking for help. We bring this spiritual element and introduce that and the practices and the breathing techniques, and then suddenly they start to feel better. And I think that's really one of the joys of the ashram. Translates to like spiritual learning center is you begin to see transformation when they are inspired and they want to do the work. We are not a miracle center. Like a real kind of shift and change doesn't necessarily happen unless you want it.
Right. You and your dear friend decide that you're going to start to be documentary filmmakers.
Yeah.
And there were two about human trafficking.
Yes. So the first one's stopping traffic, and then the second one is surviving sex trafficking, because we needed to make a second one because people were asking, well, what happens to the survivors? So the first film is kind of like, what is human trafficking? What is sex trafficking? What does that look like? Why does it happen? And then surviving sex trafficking follows 4 or 5 women and their journey of healing. And is it even possible to heal? I was assaulted as a child, and I forgot about it until it came up as a memory much later on. This is why I need to do it.
Right.
Because how many women, how many children are abused, or, you know, whether it's harassment, assault, molestation.
I would say almost 90%.
1 out of 2, basically, right?
Yeah.
And
I would say probably more.
right, when we make the films and they're watching it, we create it in a way where it's like it touches that part of you, and it's not intended to hurt you, but it's intended to kind of touch it so it releases that pain.
But I want to get to what your most recent docuseries is. What leads you to perimenopause?
And bring it on.